Since this very recently finished wrapping up, I thought it'd be the perfect time to talk about the 8th Sun. Before I get into things, I have something to say. Since there wasn't really any isekai in the winter season this year, this spring season started the year off really strong for isekai, and this anime serves as proof. However, you wouldn't really be hearing that from others because they think it's bad for some reason. Keep in mind that since this is a review, there will be spoilers throughout the video, but I'll try to keep them to a minimum, though there is one spoiler that I can't avoid talking about. The 8th Sun follows a salaryman that wakes up to find himself in the body of a child named Wendelin von Benno Baumeister, or Vel for short. Very soon after, he learns that he's the youngest child in a family of nobles, but he quickly gets disillusioned after his first night in this new world. Vel's introduction to this world is pretty unique for an isekai main character. Since he was born into a poor noble family, he gets to see a lot of the ugliness that comes from that position firsthand. Along with that, he also learns about how unhealthy the system is when it comes towards the hierarchy of nobility in this world, considering his position is the absolute worst it could have been. When it comes to the story of this anime, it's fairly slow-paced. Vel doesn't really know what he wants to do when the series starts. When he ends up learning how to use magic, he makes it a goal to live his life to the fullest and not have any regrets. The entire first half of the series consists of seeing Vel's life in intervals between the ages of 5 to 15 as he grows up and works towards his goal. Throughout this time, you see Vel making a name for himself, and you start to notice that despite magicians being pretty rare in this world, Vel himself is fairly ordinary in terms of his ability. He has the strength that any mage has over people with no magic ability, but you come to learn that he stands on pretty equal footing with a large amount of the characters in the anime, though the dialogue wants you to think otherwise. The only thing that even remotely makes him stand out from normal characters is that he learns pretty quickly and can use magic for a longer period of time than the average person. Each episode of the anime tackles a central issue not unlike a villain of the week kind of show. Through the issue that the episode takes on, you learn a great deal about this world and its hierarchy. This is something that really makes it stand out from other isekais because the others don't really expand upon the world's nobility, since the world building is usually taken into other directions. Given the story's focus upon the political system, it shows you how the monarchy of this land works, showing the benefits and detriments that the nobility causes for their society in the process. While the story of this series is good, it's not really all that special since the only thing different it does is show a differing perspective on the political system. It's very much similar to High School Prodigies, but only with a different direction in mind, so if you didn't like that, you'll probably not enjoy this. With how the nobility is heavily involved, the story presents itself to be in favor of them, while Vel learns about the tougher parts of society and the impact that being part of the nobility has on their world. The ending arc of the anime takes on everything I just said, even with a little bit of political corruption thrown in to spice things up for this fairly lighthearted story. I think they gave it a pretty fitting conclusion if it were to never get a second season, but it also makes me want to see more. With how it ends, it teases the viewer with an even better promise for what's to come. With that part out of the way, I'll be talking about the one spoiler I can't avoid mentioning and the parts related to it. Skip ahead to this time if you want to avoid this. You see, the anime starts off at the tail end of the season. You might not notice it right away, but once you do, it can ruin the tension of some of the story scenes because you know that the main party survives the things that are thrown at them. The bright side of how it's handled is that it's not very clear when exactly the first scene takes place until you reach the end of the season, so some viewers might not pick up on this until they finish the anime. That part aside, a lot of how time is handled in this can be pretty disjointed. There's some scenes where what takes place in the episode is in the past of what was introduced at the start of it. There's no indication of it being something that happens in the past or the future, so it makes you just assume it's in the present until something comes along to prove otherwise. The characters within this anime are ones that you'd either like or dislike. I don't really see many people being in between here. There are a few notable ones that I really liked, but they are mostly secondary characters. Outside of Vel, the only main characters I really liked were just Erwin and Eliza. To me, the other characters felt like they were too far gone into their archetype, so they managed to be outshined by everyone else. It's really a shame that I didn't like them all that much because other than them, the character writing in this show was pretty phenomenal. I enjoyed seeing quite a lot of the character interactions, and the comedic parts between characters managed to flow very well because of how good the characters meshed. On the topic of Vel, there's a pretty interesting discussion that can be had because he stands out quite a bit from the other isekai protagonists, including my beloved Hajime. Vel doesn't seem to care about the fact that he came from another world. Throughout the entirety of the anime, he only talks about his previous life around 2 times. The only thing even remotely related to his previous life is just how he uses his knowledge to make food and condiments he liked. It's a very nice thing to see since most other isekais tend to rely a lot on the protagonist using their knowledge from a modern world to make life better for everyone else in a more primitive one. Even if he were to use his knowledge from his world, it wouldn't really be all that helpful. This new world is in a much more modern era than the usual in this genre. He doesn't give much thought about it, and people even know that he acts strangely like another person half the time with how he treats this life. In his eyes, he feels like he's in some sort of a dream, never really counting himself the same as the people that surround him. Throughout the story, he's forced to pay attention to the fact that he is one of them. He's no longer that salaryman he used to be. Out of everything in this anime, this is the most unique, and it's what I really appreciate about this isekai. Vel wasn't brought into this world to become a hero, he just appeared one day and gained a reason to live. With only a few exceptions, other isekais tend to have their protagonists get all self-important because they're summoned or born into a world where they're told that they were there to be a hero. Vel being handled in this way makes me look with promise towards the future of this series if this manages to get a season 2 someday. The Eighth Sun was an anime that I expected to be good, but not amazing. Usually when I hear people spouting off hate for a series, I rarely will ever find it to be a 10 in my eyes because, let's be honest, that cynicism in the anime community is pretty contagious. However, this anime managed to break past my expectations and I found myself with an attachment to it. I absolutely loved watching this anime. It had me hooked from the moment it started. The unique way Vel is isekai'd is what originally interested me, but I found that the series had won me over by episode 2. From there on out, it just kept getting better and I felt my enjoyment grow from it just as steadily. This anime might not be for everyone, but it for damn sure hit my niche. At the end of the day, I just hope that more people will give this anime a chance because it was treated pretty unfairly. If you were one of the people that dropped it, that's okay, but I feel that you really missed out on something truly unique to the genre.